And today is nobody else but Vadym Melnyk, a founder of a company called Dronehub from Poland that develops a drone automation platform in a nutshell. We'll cover more details during the conversation. Hello, Vadym.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
If you're ready, let's start off. And before we move to round one, here's a question I wanted to start us with. Look, I think drones have become the mainstream of the tech media for sure, but they probably have failed to become the mainstream of everyday lives of private people or companies on the global scale. Is that true? Yes, no, why?
Um, it really depends. It depends because up until now, drones were mainly just a toy. We were using it for recreation, for camera sensing, but most enterprises started using drones like only 2, 3 years ago. And there are a few reasons why drones didn't become popular. First of all, is regulation, because in order to use the commercial drones, there should be a regulation in every single country. And luckily for us, Poland is one of the leading countries with the drone regulation laws, but the situation didn't look similar in different countries. For example, in Germany, it was really hard to fly beyond the line of vision. In Czech Republic, it was technically like possible by law, but not possible technically. So up until the 31st of December 2020, it was almost impossible to fly autonomously with the drones. And for the past couple of years, an organization called EASA, which is like the flight authority office for the whole European Union, was working on the unified drone regulations for the whole European Union. And luckily for us, this regulation started working this year. So now I would say would be the real come up with commercial drones, commercial applications. And this is the first problem. And the second big problem is the technology level readiness, because and this is something this is the problem which we are solving, because most of the drones are need to be controlled by the operators, which means that it's just a robot controlled by by a person, by a human. And what we do is we are replacing this human power, human resources with the technology. And I will say that those were two major problems that were stopping drone market development, but now both of them are solved.
Yes. Um, so one would probably guess that Germany should be on the forefront line of this new drone, let's say, movement. And why would you say there's such a big difference between German regulations and Polish regulations? And let's take Czech as well. Is it taking too much time just because they're busy with something else more important, or is it Poland generally more open to innovation ideas like this? What's your take on that?
That's a very interesting question, and to be true, I have no answer for this. Because when I started working in the drone business, Poland was already one of the leading countries in the European Union with the drone qualification and drone services. And I would say that drones are one of our national hobbies, because Poland is the leading country in the whole European Union with the registered drone operators. We have, for now, we have more than 20,000 people who are registered drone operators, which means that those people took a few hour exams, paid for their money, passed the exams, get the document, and they can fly commercially. It's 20,000 people. That's a lot of people, and I don't know any other country in the whole European Union where drones allowed so much. Why is it like this? I have no idea.
Interesting. Interesting. 20,000 operator licenses, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. And just to stay on a more general level, within Poland, does this create a kind of a red ocean for drone services, you would say? I mean,
Not really, not really.
consider yourself, okay, you are one of the leading drone, manufacturers, innovators, and also, I understand, commercial service providers. But then all around you have a fleet of, drones operated by licensed operators that are probably dumping, prices and all the other positive and negative consequences of red ocean kind of situation in a business?
Well, I would not say that the drone operators are competitors to us. I would say that we are disrupting the market, and honestly saying, we are the ones who are killing the need for drone operators. So probably I would say that our company is not much loved by drone operators because, this is like what we do. We enable drone services without the need of a human operator, and this is our main competitive advantage. Right now we are entering the new market, like the traditional drone services, because we are creating the moving drone infrastructure which can be installed on the car. So the person without any drone knowledge, without any drone experience, without license, can press a button and the drone will perform a very complex mission, gather the data, and then our software will make some analytics and transform the data into actionable business insights. So summing up, we're killing drone operators, and I hope, and it's my dream, to kill all the need for all the commercial drone operators and to replace it with the robots.
For the sake of staying on the law-abiding side of conversation, please use air quotes when you say kill next time.
Okay.
So with this, let's move on to round one of the scenario of the podcast, actually, the solution to the product in your case. In your case, it's all of it, right? There's a whole mixture of basically three elements, right? It's the drone itself, the hub, and the AI software behind. In a nutshell, you covered already some parts of it. And in a nutshell, how would you introduce your solution?
Sure. So to introduce my solution, I would start with a little reflection, because the drone market right now looks like the car market 100 years ago, right? And 100 years ago, a car was a strange hobby, and on long distances, it wasn't even a competitor to a horse, because there was no infrastructure to charge it, to put some gas
Fuel, yeah,
inside.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And the same is with the drone market right now. Up until now, it was a strange hobby for most of part of it, but more and more companies start using drones commercially. Uh, Amazon will be delivering packages this year. They already started the test, but the problem is the
Where in
same. There
Poland?
is
In Poland, you mean?
no
Or in the
in the
US?
US, in the
Ah,
US.
yes, yes, okay.
But in Poland, I hope that we'll be the country doing this, because our infrastructure is also capable of package delivering. Uh, so. Um, and the problem is still the same, is this infrastructure, because as I mentioned before, every typical drone is flying around half an hour, 40 minutes, and then you need a human operator that will take the control over the drone, land it, exchange the battery, put the new one, put the new mission, and then the drone starts the flight and flies for another half an hour, which means that if you think about any autonomous mission, you need to have an operator which will be controlling the drone every half an hour. So the basic problem that our system is solving is we're replacing this human power, human operator, with the machine, with the box where any industrial drone can autonomously land, exchange the battery, and then continue the mission without the need of the human. And this is like the very basic core part of our business. And beside that, we also create military grade drones which can fly up to 50 kilometers, up to 60 kilometers per hour with a strong wind under snow, using different sources of industrial grade and military grade communication standards. And for all of this, and this is where we earn probably most of our money, is the software. Because the drone is just a machine that gathers the information, but information by itself doesn't make a lot of sense. So we work on the software which transforms this information, this aerial data, into so-called actionable business insights, into something that the business can use to optimize their cost, to reduce human power. And those three components create the Dronehub AI product.
Okay. So as far as drones that you are, or you can use, basically you don't care, right? Because your client might use any drone available on the market. And then your hub is more or less universal from what I understood from the videos. It can adapt and accommodate any type of drone, right? Especially commercial or
That's true.
industrial.
That's true. We're not operating with any type of drone, to be clear, but we are integrated with the quite successful players on the market. We have our own drones. We are integrated with a few companies here in Poland. We're integrated with Czech Republic military drones. In the pipeline, we have a few other military drones from other European countries. So every drone needs integration on the software and hardware level, but we give a special convert kit and APIs for the drone manufacturer to easily integrate with us.
So you go up in the supply chain to the drone manufacturers. Okay, how do you make manufacturers interested in your solution? I mean, are they interested
It's
in? Have you had
yes,
experience of
yes.
like getting to the manufacturers of drones and actually pitching them your channel of distribution, basically for them, right?
Yeah, actually, that's a very easy answer. They are very interested because for now they are selling drones to the companies that will be using them in the traditional use cases, and giving them this drone in a box solution with the software. We are opening the whole new market for them. So it's basically in their interest to integrate with us, then go to the new clients, new markets, and say, "Hey guys, we have the completely new product. You know our drones. Now we have a ground infrastructure. Now we have the new software, so we can offer you a completely new services." Well, of course, we started with the generic softwares that are available on the market. We are very active in the Drone Code Alliance, which is creating a software for the Pixhawk based drones that are open source based drones, and it basically covers 90% of the market, which is not covered by DJI. We use the almost in traditional systems like ROS, robotics operating system, to control our machines. But now it was 5 years ago, but now I would say that our custom software is so advanced, and there is like so many abstraction levels on it that I would say that I'm not sure what is underneath right now, because this software has been developing for the past almost 5 years. It's very complex. It has very lots of integrations, APIs, data connectors. So it's hard to say. But what is very important, we are platform independent, which means that we can work in the internet. Like we can be hosted on Microsoft Cloud, Google Cloud, but we can also work in the intranet. And this is very important for the public large companies like Orlen in Poland, which is the biggest oil and gas company, because they have their own server infrastructure, they have their own intranet, and they wanted all the system to be covered in the intranet, so nothing goes outside.
Let's move on to use cases, like most prominent you are happy with and you think are most promising for you for a year to come.
Okay, sure. So I would say that one of the most interesting use cases is autonomous surveillance and support of the security teams. And this was a use case in Orlen and a few other companies, because lots of companies that own large terrains, they have a big problem with efficient monitoring, right? Because when something is happening, they need sometimes 15 to 20 minutes to drive to that place and find what is going on. And until they come, there would probably be nothing to look for. So with our solution, they can just push a button and the drone starts from the Dronehub in a few seconds, starts flying to that place with a speed of 60 kilometers per hour. And just in a few seconds, maybe a minute, you'll be able to monitor what is going on in real time in a good quality, and then decide if you need to go there or was it a false alarm. Besides
automatically,
that, you can,
I mean AI driven. Or you can
yeah.
teach it, right? And just to make sure, this is not only emergency but also regular checks, right?
No, of course not. Of course not. Our system is also being used, like, let's say, for precision agriculture, where the hub is installed in the field. It flies once every 24 hours, gathers the data, creating an orthographic map, and then our software is analyzing. Is everything okay with the plant, or do we need to push more water on the field, or are there any is there anything else that we need to do? we also use our system on the mining calls, and once every 6 hours, our drone is flying and making the orthographic map of the terrain, scanning how much coal is on the ground, because the large coal companies are having the problem because the coal has been stolen from their facilities, and they lose millions of dollars every single year. So our system helps to monitor it constantly, and when somebody steals the coil, he can be easily caught. So I would say that most prominent use cases for us are on-demand monitoring,
Yes.
continuous monitoring, and some critical infrastructure monitoring.
Yeah, interesting. And all like general level security as well, right?
Yes. I would say that the large part of our income comes from the defense sector. We are the only startup in this part of Europe who signed a deal with the European Defense Agency. We have an API for our drones, so we can connect almost any sensor and take data from it. So we've been using the infrared cameras, multispectral cameras, lidars, some high vision sensors. It really doesn't matter if it has the common interface, and most of them do, which means Ethernet, USB connection, or HDMI connection. We can gather the data from it and then post-process it on our servers.
Are you already, I understand you have already market product fit and so on, and you mentioned that you sold already a couple of right, projects, ongoing projects are there already. And how would you describe, how many units have you sold, or how do you measure your sales results?
Okay, so first of all, it was mentioning that we are a technological company, and we are focusing first of all on the development of a technology, because my horizon for the next 5 years is I want to sell the company to one of the big players like General Electric, and that's why we're pushing way harder into technological development than into sales, which doesn't mean that we are not doing sales. And our most prominent companies which we are cooperating is defense market, insurance market, and security. Up until now, we have sold in the one-time sales model six Dronehubs, and we sell also in the in the monthly revenue model, and now we're selling 4 of them. But the problem of our sales funnel is it takes very long to negotiate, which means that the deals that we have been negotiating through the whole 2020 will jump in 2021. Our typical time of negotiate is around 12 months. So the more proper question would be not how our sales funnel looked like, but how it's gonna look like in the next 6 months, because in our pipe for the next 12 months period, 6 to 12 months period, we have more than 20 hubs to sell, which is a lot. And right now we are dealing with how to do it, how to manufacture them.
Okay, if we can discuss the pricing, would be interesting as well. And I understand you have two models, right? To sell
yes
as SaaS, or should we say DaaS, drones as a service, in a way.
Infrastructure as a service.
Okay, and as a one-time sell as well, right? And just give a little bit insight about the pricing.
Sure. If we're talking about the monitoring solution, because we also have the cargo delivery solution, but we're just pushing it to the market, so we are not ready with the pricing point here. So if we talk about the monitoring solution, we are selling it for the price of around 100,000 euros for the whole set, which means the drone, the infrastructure, and the software plus a year service. It's 100,000 K. But for most clients, it's a very innovative technology. It's hard for them to believe that it's working and it's safe. So it's easier to them to sign a 6 months agreement and test it on their infrastructure. And for this, we charge starting from 4,000 euros per month.
Okay, 4,000 euros. Okay.
Yes.
And that covers what? The usage and then the integration and then the monthly subscription fee, right?
Monthly subscription fee, the cloud cost, and the servicing cost, because it's the hardware, and once every 2 to 3 months there should be a person coming to the infrastructure, checking the infrastructure, checking the drone, replacing something that needs to be replaced. So and all this is covered in those costs.
So I understand the life cycle is pretty high. I mean, pretty long, but in a way, it's a function of your client base that you've chosen: government, military, large corporate clients as well. Is there a way, or do you plan to somehow like hack your own sales process and go into the mid market, so to say, where companies might be more like less bureaucratic, should I say, or less less ridden with the difficult complex decision making process, and would be more open to test it out? Is there a way to
Yes.
do that? Yeah.
Yes, this is what we're doing right now. And this is actually why we needed to close the investment round, which we did in August. Because right now we have started everything that we've been talking about. It's the traditional ground infrastructure that you put in one place and it stands there. And right now we are working on the mobile drone infrastructure, which means that you put it on a car truck like Toyota Hilux or any other car, and all the technology that was in traditional drone hubs will work in the mobile drone hubs. And with this, we want to replace all the traditional operators, because
Yeah. Okay.
with this, we can start selling the traditional services like creating orthographic maps, creating field maps, creating filmographic maps. And on the place where this operation needs to be done, uh, instead of the operator, there will be a traditional driver, which doesn't cost a lot, with the car, which has the connected drone hub. And when he drives to this place, he just pushes a button and the drone performs all the operation by himself. And with this, we want to replace all the traditional operators. And I would say that the first public demo would be in around half a year.
We hope to be invited there as well. And so I understand if the scenario or the context for the surveillance or other type of uses is repeatable, it takes just one or two times to educate the hub, let's say, or the whole solution to educate, and then the memory will do its own job next times, right?
Exactly, that's true.
Especially if
And
this is a repeatable, right? And you're looking for changes
that's true.
in what the system sees. Yeah.
And one of the things why it wasn't possible before is because due to laws. So this idea that we want to implement into life just became possible 13 days ago. So that's why we are really new on the market. And for mobile drone infrastructure, we don't really have any competitors. So I would hope that we will be the first on the market, and which means one of the most successful.
Yeah. So mobile and independent, right? Or autonomous, you could say. Yeah.
Autonomous.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Okay. A couple of questions in this round. To patent or not to patent, and why?
That's a hard question. You know, I would not say that patenting really saves you and saves your company. It looks good when you are closing the investment round, because you are showing that you have some intellectual property that theoretically you can protect, but the real IP protection rights are in your software, which should be in the cloud or behind some firewalls in the server. So we do have some patents. We still have some ideas that are patent pending, and we are waiting for patents. But I would say that our main competitive advantage is in the software and integration of our software with the ground infrastructure. So I would say that if you are a young startup, use those money for sales and marketing instead of making patents.
Yeah, because patents basically are a very long-term kind of game, right?
Exactly, and it's very hard to maintain them. Like uh, to have a patent globally in like most of the countries that you're interested is the cost of around 2 to 300,000 euros, and then you need also quite a large amount of money to hold that patent for the next 20 years. And the question if you really make business of it or not. So it really depends. And if we say that the most seed rounds are somewhere around, let's say 500k to million euros, it doesn't sound good to put 1/5 of it into something that will not probably protect you in the future, because as you know it's very easy to obey, not to like move through any button. Exactly, so doesn't really make sense for me.
And moreover, if you are applying for patents, you will receive patents only, and if you have not started commercial activity with this product, right? As soon as you're trying,
Exactly.
yeah, that's another a blockage that you might have on your way to deliver results to VCs and and to keep your company alive, basically. Yeah, interesting.
I would say that in your sales strategy and closing the next investment rounds, like round A, you need to reserve some money to fight in with the patent trolls. Because sometimes, you know, it's easier to buy a license from somebody when you're entering a new market than to try to move somewhere around and think how to bypass him. And we're having the similar situation in one of their countries where we want to enter. There is just a patent troll, a guy who has like more than 5,000 patents,
Okay.
because he's just creating an idea, patents it, and he's making business on it. I'm not sure how it's feasible, but he's making business on it. It's for us. It's just easier to buy a license to use that patent in that country. It costs a few $1,000s per year, but it solves us most of our problems. So you really need to understand. You really need to check the patent situation, the patent landscape in the countries you're entering in, and be prepared to pay money or fight with those patent trolls. It depends on your strategy, but it costs, and you need to be prepared when you're closing the investment round for this.
Yeah. We might cover this later on, but what we've discussed so far about patents is not as much directed to startups as to VCs and their analysts,
Exactly.
investment specialists. Because the question number 2 or 3 is, do you have a patent? No,
True, and
but and and we could make a short video of what you just mentioned about patent and put it on, as a separate clip, so that every startup could be using this as a counter argument to all the VCs, analyst managers, and VCs themselves, right, who make decisions. Interesting.
I'm the partner in one of the companies where the patent really saved the company. But I would say that if you're a young startup, there are way smarter ways to burn the money than to put it into patenting.
Yes, and otherwise you become a patent company rather than startup.
Exactly.
One last question, and it's a little bit from another area, and it's more about ethical boundaries. As a founder of the company, as the main ideologist and so on, are there any types of use cases that you would not allow, or even if it's a lucrative vector for the company? Have you
Yeah,
thought of that?
yeah. Yes, we have these use cases. Uh, Meanwhile, we are cooperating with defense, like the European Defense Agency, European Space Agencies. My company will never get into something that is helping military, I mean like traditional military, like killing people. So we don't want to be connected with anything that is doing any harm. If our technology is used to monitor the country borders, it's okay. But if our technology is being used to destroy something with the missiles, or I don't know, some possible use cases like this, even if we earn like millions, 100 millions on this, I will never go into something like this, because I prefer to sleep well, and I want to sleep understanding that I'm not doing any harm to any other people, and I want my daughter, which is 4 months years old, to be proud of her dad, and not to think that I'm doing any harm to other people. So this is probably the only use case like this.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Promise.
Yeah.
So that's a public promise. Vadym, let's move on to round two, competitors. Who are your biggest competitors at this moment? Having in mind the whole, like the triangle of that you have, Dronehub and software AI behind.
I would say that if we're talking about direct competitors, we have a competition from the US and Israel, and those companies are basically on the similar level that we are. I mean, about with the technology, and right now every country is trying to fight. Every company is trying to fight on their local market. Israeli company becomes a leader in Israeli market. US company tries to become a leader in US market, and we are trying to become a leader in the European market. For all of us, Asia, like Singapore and Saudi Arabia, also looks sexy, and this is the place where we are all fighting with each other as for now. But besides that, everybody is operating on its local market. So I would say that it's a perfect moment to become a regional leader right now for us. And I would really say that they are on a very similar technological level for us, as we are. Something that will differentiate us is that we are the only company that has both monitoring ground infrastructure and cargo delivery ground infrastructure. And in the next 6 months, we'll also have the mobile ground infrastructure. And this will give us a really huge competitive advantage, because we'll be the only company that has all three types of infrastructure for any drones that can be integrated with any software. But right now, all of these companies and we are fighting on our local markets.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Vadym. Let's move on to round three, companies' ups and downs, and I mean, failures and successes in the last year or so, okay? And let's try to avoid those related to the pandemic situation and so on. Maybe your own personal mistakes, failures as a manager and CEO. From the videos I've watched, I know you're pretty open and transparent about your own faults and mistakes. Let's maybe try to cover one or two of those that you wanted to use as a lesson, let's say, to fellow startup founders.
Okay, before that, I would try to say that I made some of the largest mistakes in 2019. And because of that, the 2020 was hard for us, because in 2019, when we're doing our integration with the Orlen, the oil and gas company, we pushed really hard into that, and the whole team was working for the 5 months. I would not say the 24/7, but it was really close to it. And by the end of the year, the whole team was very exhausted. And in the meanwhile, we made a really successful integration with Orlen. Everybody was happy. This helped us to close the investment round. Part of our team was so exhausted that besides the money, ESOP, like the shares in the company and other benefits, they decided to leave. And we started January without 4 really key people for our company. And that's why the next 6 months were very, very hard for us. And it was hard to work on the product, because those guys had some really key competences, and it took us almost half a year to replace them with the new guys. So I would say that this is my biggest managerial mistake in 2019 that made the whole 2020 harder. But besides that, I would say
let's linger here as well. What could you have done differently? And I understand probably the situation is that you as a founder, basically you were, I understand also working your ass off as well, and probably you expected everybody else to be on the same level and shoulder to shoulder with you, like night in, night out. Some of them probably have done, but what what did you fail to what to communicate, or to maybe you failed to motivate them enough? Like what was the key thing you would have changed now?
Uh, Two things. First of all, I really would be closer to my team because at that time I already was living in Warsaw while my whole team was back in Rzeszów. And I was in very close contact with my managers. And still, all of my managers are at the same place, they're working with us. But the level of communication from me to my managers didn't work in the same way from the managers to the employees. And I would say that it's totally my fault because I didn't communicate properly for the managers what they have to communicate to the employees, first of all. And second of all, it's financial situation because, in every startup there are crises. And our biggest financial crisis was in 2019. And there were months, a few periods during the year when people received salaries with the 2-3 weeks shift, right?
I mean, delay, right?
Delay,
Okay.
yes, exactly. And when it happened once, nobody cares, but when it happened 3 times, even when you propose then shares to this employee, even when you say that, okay, we're closing the investment round, everything will be fine right now, they don't really trust you. And I would say that with some employees, and I feel it even right now, I lost this trust and this belief that this company can do everything. And this is something where I work really hard right now to get this trust back, so the whole team will believe into me and into the future of the company. Uh, I would say that it takes way more time to gain back this trust than it took to lose it.
And in a nutshell, would you agree? Be the advice would be for a founder: be close to your team physically.
For sure. First of all, I would like to say a few words about the stock ownership program, because I would say that in Poland it doesn't work, and people don't see benefits in it. Because how many startups in Poland do you know that have the successful exit strategy? Exactly, it's a number
Yeah.
close to zero.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure that during the next few years there will be a lot of startups which will have successful exit strategies with the capital exits of more than 100 million euros.
Yeah. You
But as
mean
for now,
realized executed exit strategies, right?
exactly,
Because
exactly.
on paper, you all have a strategy, right? You mean realize? Okay. Very
No,
few.
I mean real.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
So there is
So
not enough
and
milestones and benchmarks, right, to compare your SOPs against.
Exactly. So for employees don't really see the motivation in the SOPs because it's something which has a really small probability to happen. So that's why it's really not a motivation for them. And I would say for me, SOP is something that is just my way to say thank you to the core employees. And even though
Yeah.
they don't see the need of this right now, I will be really happy if we sell a company and they buy a new house with that money. But I would say that in my company right now, 7 people are having the SOP shares. And I would truly say that only 2 of them see the real value into it. All the rest are
I see.
taking this as granted and okay, let's see what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Let's give it a try.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
getting back to what we've been talking about, it's very important to be close to your team. However, right now in the COVID era, it's even it's even harder than it was before because I was sick for COVID for 3 months, so I wasn't traveling at all. I was barely working. Our company was closed for more than 1 month because we had an epidemic of COVID in the company. So this year, I've been in Rzeszów like on 3 times. I mean the whole 2020. I was in Rzeszów only like 3 or 4 times for a few days, and this is definitely not enough. But from The other perspective, I I would say that this is something very important and very good that happened with our company because thanks to this, most of our managers and most of our employees became more independent, and it's easier for them to make hard decisions because I'm not always with them, supporting them with the decisions, so they know if they do something, it's their responsibility. And in my opinion, this made our managers stronger. So it's like the stick with both ends. So there are good
Yeah.
sides and bad sides. But at the early stages, for sure, you need to be close to your employees. You need to be every day shoulder by shoulder with them. Because otherwise it's just not gonna work. Because on the early stages, the most important thing that you have is a team, which means that you need to make your team as strong as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. At least until the time there is an opportunity to create some kind of a mid management or let's say top management team, then you might probably get more time for something else.
Exactly, but Alex, it takes time. Nine girls cannot bear a child in a month, and the same with the meat management. It takes at least a year of active work to create this meat management team, and still after that, they will make mistakes. And in my opinion, I became happy how my meat management team works only after 2 years of living remotely.
Let's see the flip side of the last year or so. The biggest success that you would like to mention, apart from closed investment round. This we'll cover later on, okay?
Okay, sure. I would say that our biggest success is that we closed the huge research and development project because for the past 3 years, together with our partner Pentacomp, we've been working on the ground infrastructure, drones, and software for cargo deliveries. And this is something which is Amazon is trying to do in lots of other companies in the world. It really took us 3 years and a few million zloty of our money and money from the National Research and Development Center to finish this product. There were lots of problems during this project, and probably the biggest one was the pandemic because we were ordering lots of materials from companies which were ordering from China.
Okay.
And and in February everything stopped, and for the 5 months we basically didn't have any parts, so we lost lots of money on this, and we lost time. But luckily we closed the product. We made a few 100,000 of flight tests. Everything is successful, and right now we start to monetize the results of the project. So I would say that this is the biggest success, and this is probably something that motivated our employees the most, because if something that you are working for 3 years finally starts working and everybody sees it, like you cannot do anything better in your job.
And in a nutshell, so I understand this is cargo delivery system. What's the weight of the cargo? Maximum weight, more or less.
The drone can take up to 5 kilograms of active payload and fly on a distance of up to 25 kilometers, which is
and
pretty a
what's
lot.
Yes, yes. I mean, even for a lay person like myself, it's impressive. And what about, you said 5 kilograms of how did it say? Active, right?
Active payload, which means like we don't count the weight of the cargo box, all the other sensors that on it. It's just a net weight of something that you can put inside, which is 5 kilograms. You can put a
Okay.
5 kilogram package. You can transfer 5 kilograms of blood. You can transfer 5 kilograms of some samples. And this is way more than all of our competitors do. In Warsaw, recently there were some tests of drones that were delivering COVID samples, and they were flying on for only like a few kilometers with the few grams of payload. And our system is really disrupting the market because it's 25 kilograms, 25 kilometers with 5 kilograms.
Okay, amazing. Okay. And who are on your target list with this solution? I mean, as far as commercializing.
In Poland, it's only one company, and it's the company that is supporting laboratories with equipment. As for now, I cannot say the name, but it's the only large company like this. And our target is outside of Poland. We have a few really hot leads in Saudi Arabia, Norway, and Singapore. And this is where we'll probably sell our product during the next few years.
Vadym, great. Let's move on to round 4, the company itself. Who are the current founding team in Dronehub? So Vadym Melnyk, let me just make a short introduction of yourself. A young intellectual, made effective businessman with an international background educationally and professionally, and very good communicator. Forbes 25 under 25 definitely will make it into Forbes 30 under 30 sometime. Has been already one of the key players in Microsoft innovation through a unicorn division as well. Well-read and just a great guy. Who else?
I would say that our core team are actually those people who received the SOP, and this is Marcin Prowiak, which is our technological CTO, and this is the guy who basically created the whole technological advance of the company. He's working for more than 3 years, and previously he was working in the largest aerospace companies in Rzeszów, because our office is located in the heart of Aviation Valley, where all the aviation companies are located. So it's for sure Marcin, it's Krzysztof Malik, and this is my personal, I would say, success story, because it's the person who I met at my university. Then we started working together. I asked him to join my team at Microsoft. Then I took him back to my company, and he started as a project manager. And right now he's our strategic development manager, and he works on the largest products like this cargo delivery that we've been working for 3 years. He's working on the strategy with European Defense Agency. He's working on some European Commission projects. He's the guy that is working on the strategy of the company, and tries to cover the strategy with the money. And Łukasz Haciński, which is our business development manager. He's the head of our sales team. This is the guy who has previously been working in the media industry. He was the director of the large media company, and right now he's actually the guy who is pushing the sales of the Dronehub. And I just really understand how hard it is to sell a product like this, so I'm admiring his work. And of course, our marketing team with the head of Ada Szymanska, which also had a cool marketing experience before, but for a girl, it's just very interesting how how her perspective on the hardware business looks like, and how she transforms what the engineers say into marketing that can be understood by normal people.
Okay.
So I would say that this is our our core team. And well, besides that, there are 25 people in the company right now, so it's quite a large team, and everybody's putting its part in the company. And it's also worth mentioning the founder, Dawid Smułka. This is the first investor of the company, which joined us 5 years ago. And he stays up until now with all his package of shares, even though there are the new investors. So he's helping us a lot from the financial side, business development side. So I would say that without him, the company for sure wouldn't be at this place where it's right now.
And he was the only angel investor, I understand.
That's true. That's true.
And how did you find him? How did he find you? What was the story there? In a nutshell.
By chance, and this is totally true, by chance, because a friend of him was looking for a drone company to join some research and development products. So he called his friend, and his friend saw us at some competition at Microsoft, and he tried to find us on Facebook. He didn't. So he wrote a post on this group, Startup Poland, and there were a few people who tagged me in the comments, and I answered him. Then he pushed me back to David, and this is how we started cooperating.
Wow, interesting. Like cross crossroads of his needs and your like interest. I
So
understand. There was a very early stage, right? Just idea, no hardware, no software, and so
yeah,
on, right?
but I would say that
Okay.
it's very important for startups to show up. When I was studying in the US, my mentor said the world belongs to those who show up, and this is really true because if you don't make buzz around yourself, around the company, uh, your product worth nothing. Because right now, if you have some idea, uh, at least 5 other teams globally are working on it, and if it's a good idea, at least 50 teams around the world are working on it. So to make some competitive advantage besides your technological advance, you need to make a lot of buzz around yourself. So many investors, many founders say that taking part in startup competitions and conferences doesn't make sense. Somehow I would agree with them, but in my opinion, every startup needs to go through the stage and show the world that they are here, they can do this, they just need money, some support, and some time to make this a reality.
And connected to this is this principle of fake it till you make it. Do you agree with that?
Could you repeat, please?
Yeah, and connected to this would be this, generally widely accepted principle of in startups, fake it till you make it. Because in a way, sometimes you make the buzz based on some facts. Sometimes you make the buzz, based on the previous buzz, based on the previous buzz, and what you're doing in the end, you're faking till you make it. Basically, would you agree with
Exactly,
that?
that's true. And I would say that this is also how we started because, when I was in my early 20s, I didn't know anything about business, but I'm very good at winning competitions, which I learned in the US. So I made a team, and I've trust me, I didn't know at the time that there are people like investors that are giving money for shares. So the only way how could we get money to start our business, in my opinion, was to win some competitions. Which means that we took part in 17 national and international competitions in Poland and globally. We won 11 of them, and we won more than 50,000 euros in cash and prizes. And this was our capital to start the business. So, and we won all of this with the idea. We didn't really have lots of technology to show,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that money definitely helped us to develop our technological advance and start the company.
Vadym, let's move on to round 5. We call this Formula F3, funding for the future. And guide me through the funding or financing history of the company until today, in a nutshell.
Okay,
How
so
much have you taken externally? How much is you just mentioned, right, that around 50K SA came as this kind of pre-seed initial kind of even not financing, just money, right, from winning
yeah,
contests. Okay, great. And then based on that, there was an angel you mentioned already. Yeah.
yeah, that was a small agent investor. It was a few thousand euros, so it wasn't a really large investment. But David really helped us to financially establish the company and supported us with the convertible loans, which he didn't really convert into additional shares because we're able to give them back. So this really helped us. And up until now, we didn't have any more investment rounds. So we were totally self-funded. We had a few public and private grants. We had normal revenue from tech companies. And we closed the investment round only in August 2020. So for the 5 years, we are totally self-funded.
Yeah, and the figures for the pre-seed, as it was defined, but figures are public, right? I understand. It's
Yeah.
500K euros, more or less.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And it was for 20% of shares of the company.
Sorry, I don't know who the investor team was there.
Okay. So there were the private financial investors. One of them was the one of the founders of the live chat, a very popular messaging platform here in Europe. and his partner from the investment fund, and the other guy, he's a good friend of David, and he's just really passionate about the drones. He made his successful exit from his startup a few years ago, so he decided to invest his money into our company.
Okay, so we are right now, 20% dilution, €500,000 external investment by now. What's the plan for the next investment?
Okay, so right now we have closed a few very successful projects, so we have money for the next 12 to 18 months for sure, at least I hope. But in the next 6 months, we're planning to close the new investment round, and we are looking for 2 to 4 million euros at this stage. And those money will be used for international business development, mostly in the Asia, Singapore market and Saudi Arabia, and preparation for mass volume production, because up until now we were doing only hub by hub, and it took us more than 4 months to prepare one hub and one drone that we can sell. So right now we are working on the production line in our facility, so we'll be able to manufacture more than 30 hubs per year, and this is our core, and this is where we need the investment round.
30 hubs per year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you plan to reach 30 hubs per year capacity this year, or by end of 2022?
In 2022. In 2022, I would say that in this year it would be a successful year if we sell 10 hubs and finish this mobile drone hub, and in 2022 we'll reach our full manufacturing capacity.
Yeah, okay. As far as VC investors, I understand you would focus on such type of investment. Do you have a definition of your ideal VC? Who would this can be? I mean, Polish again, or more international?
I would say that it would be best to have an international investor because they have a little bit different figures in their mind. But our ideal investor is definitely a corporate venture capital. It's not a typical financial investor, but it's a large corporate best from the energy, solar market or defense market. So, and first of all, he'll give money and he'll use our technology on their infrastructure in their business processes. So he'll also generate us sales.
So just to make sure, you mentioned solar energy, oil and gas.
Yes, yes.
And just as a side note, how come solar industry is also important or interesting?
Sure. In solar panels, the very important thing is predictive maintenance, which means that you really want to know when your solar panel is going to break, or if it's going to break, when to replace it, because it's easier to replace it than to know that it's broken and you're losing money on lack of electricity. And right now we have a few really hot leads from the energy companies here in Poland, which are interested into installing our drone hubs in their solar farms, so the drone can constantly fly around the solar farms and with the thermal camera monitoring the stage of exhaustment of the solar panel and when it needs to be replaced.
Yeah. Now we probably have to also to border somehow on your exit scenario. If this is a CVC, I understand you would be happy to be acquired, to exit in favor of a corporation behind CVC. And would it be pity to, let's say, to be acquired? I mean, would it be pity to be acquired by a, let's say, solar giant or solar energy giant, and then for quite some times to limit the development of the program or the expansion into other verticals, just because they would love to have it for themselves, and it would take some kind of an inertia for them to be ready again to open up to other sectors and verticals?
It depends, because of course everybody wants to become number one in the world and disrupt the industry, but for sure we are not ready to be eaten by the corporate right now. We want to grow for the next 3 to 5 years, as I mentioned, and then when we are at some technological verticals, when our company generated few, I would say 10 to 20 million euros in revenue, then I would like to sell this company. Because as for now, it doesn't really make sense, and I wasn't working for the past previous years to sell the company at this moment, because right now drones are truly becoming the emerging market, and the drone regulations and drone technology finally allows to perform autonomous use cases. So I would say that the next 5 years would be really fun for us, and will definitely make a lot of interesting use cases, and will push some new technological advances on the market. And then when we will play enough, it would be a good idea to sell the company.
Yeah, yeah. So you don't say, as far as the exit time or moment, it's not about the time that you'll spend in the company, but more connected with the revenue the company is producing. So you said 15, 20 million euros or USDs, let's say, revenue yearly would be a milestone you set yourself, right?
Yes, exactly. Because I would be happy if I grew the company from 0 to 20 million euros in revenue. And if I say it for 100 to 300 million euros, that's totally enough for me.
Okay. Vadym, thanks. That's been a great chat. Definitely, we could go on forever. But before we end, would you like to address your potential future investors somehow?
Um, yeah, I would say that investing to the drones is the future. But no, for sure, the world is going into the autonomization, and sooner or later everything will become autonomous. And I will say that it's a good idea to invest into a drone company right now, because for the next few years it will be the one of the biggest and most emerging markets in the whole technological sector. So and as I mentioned, we are really looking for CVC companies, the CVC funds that will help us to grow with them and potentially sell it for the few 100 million euros to some big player.
So Dronehub, everyone, and Vadym Melnyk, the co-founder of the company, with a very clear strategy for the development of the company, and they are planning to go for Series A investment round in 2021, and have actually started the process. All the best to Dronehub. That's all for now. Bye bye.